Happy New Year, everybody. This is Talk Wrestling 97 here on NoDQ.com and, of course, everywhere else you watch the show. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you, all of you that watched episode 96 with the one and only Santa Claus. Mostly a positive review. There was one guy in particular on MySpace that gave Santa some slack. Didn't cut Santa any slack, excuse me. That gentleman's going to be getting some lump of coal in his stocking next year. No doubt about that. Thank you, Santa Claus, for hooking that up. Not a whole lot of Q&A I want to do today. I want to do news review because there's a lot of news going on in the wrestling world. Of course, the big story is Raw versus Impact for the very first time head-to-head on Monday night. That was this past Monday, January 4th. Raw drew a 3.6. Impact drew its biggest rating ever in the history of TNA, a measly 1.5. But when you think about it, Impact was a success in the way they measured success. Dixie was very happy. Hulk was very happy. Hulk's segment even got a 1.9 up against the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels opening segment of Raw. So TNA didn't come close to beating Raw in any segment, but they did have a good first hour and a good top of the second hour. But as they went on, they tapered off and tapered off and tapered off. The main event drew a 1.8 or something, I heard. 1.3? Wow. Okay, I take that back. 1.3, which, you know, for AJ and Kurt in this day and age, you know, it works out. But Raw overall drew a 3.6 with the kind of confrontations between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Mr. McMahon. And the storyline plant, the little seed that was planted between Bret and Vince when Vince kicked Bret squat in the nuts. So it'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out. And not a whole lot happened on Raw of significance, really. I mean, I read Aaron's Facebook post, blog, whatever you want to call it. I read Josh's. Raw was pretty much your average day at the office. That's exactly what it was. It just happened to feature Bret the Hitman Hart in 3 segments. You saw Bret at the top of the show, you saw Bret confront Chris Jericho, or Chris Jericho confront Bret Hart, and you saw Bret at the end of the show. That was it. Other than that, it was your typical Raw day at the office. DX beat Jericho again. You know, what else happened on Raw? Let me go back and look up my Raw results here. Maurice defeated Brie Bella, and Melina's hurt. I forgot to mention that. Melina is hurt. She injured her knee, I believe, or her leg in some way. She's going to be out indefinitely, and there's going to be a tournament to crown a new WWE Divas champion. Maurice beat Brie Bella in the first match of the night. MVP is the number 1 contender for the U.S. Championship. He defeated Mark Henry, Carlito, and Jack Swagger. Mike Tyson's going to be on next week as the guest host. Sheamus destroyed Evan Bourne, and no surprise there. Randy Orton defeated Kofi Kingston to keep his spot in Legacy. Whatever. And then Mr. McMahon, of course, kicked Bret square in the nuts. So, you know, from what I watched, and the group I was with watched Raw live, and then we DVR'd Impact and watched it after. Raw was the better show, I thought, but it was still just an average run-of-the-mill Raw. It wasn't anything special except for the fact that they had Bret the Hitman Hart for the first time in 12 years. Impact was very reminiscent of a clusterfuck version of WCW Monday Nitro. You had everything going on all over the place. You had Bubba the Love Sponge, who's Hogan's buddy, the radio buddy of his in Tampa, jumping all over the place, finding people. You know, you had the Nasty Boys. 3 segments with the Nasty Boys. Really. 3 segments starring the Nasty Boys. And they trash Team 3D's locker room at one point. They had to sneak themselves into the building with Bubba's help. Mick Foley was barred from the building and had to, you know, force his way in. And he gets beat up by the Outsiders and Sean Waltman, who apparently are with Eric Bischoff. And Hulk's with them, but he's not with them. But he is with them, but he's not with them. Ric Flair is there, and from reading the Impact spoilers for next week, he's very pleased with what's going on in the world title picture. ODB wins the Knockouts title in a good match, and I thought it was a good match with Tara. ODB grabbed the trunks to win the title, and Tara's pissed. Tara's upset. She's even twittering that she's pissed off. That's how true to the character she's staying. She's twittering that she's upset. Kong and Hamada defeated Taylor and Sarita to become the Knockouts Tag Champions. I don't understand throwing together Kong and Hamada to defeat the established tag team champions, but, you know, what do I know? Next week on Impact, another big return to TNA. You can watch that for yourself. It's on the spoilers on ODQ.com as well. Jeff Hardy is back in TNA after being indicted on drug charges. Several counts, a few felony counts. That boy's in trouble, okay? But he did apparently get a TNA contract. So did Shannon Moore, his buddy. They're both with TNA again. Sean Morley's with TNA now. They had him playing strip poker with the beautiful people, and he ended up being the most stripped of them all, which is just not right. If I want to see strip poker with Lacey Von Erich, Velvet Sky, and Madison Rayne and Sean Morley, Velvet Sky should be the one the most naked. Period. End of story. The Machine Guns, Rhino, and Beer Money were all taken out at various points throughout the night. Cars drove to the Impact Zone. That was the funniest thing. Aaron pointed this out, and I thought that was funny. They followed Hogan's motorcade for the entire first hour. Hogan comes out and says, "I've been in the back all day, brother." Did you leave the back at one point, Hulk, and take your motorcade into the arena? Is that what happened? Okay. I'm just checking. Because I don't know. I'm just checking. I want to know. Crystal Marshall apparently is some Uber heel now. She's this bitch, and she's pissed off that her boy Bobby Lashley is being treated unfairly by TNA and the TNA fans. So she demanded Bobby's release from TNA and confronted Eric Bischoff, and Bischoff put her in her place. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. That was awesome. It was good times. What else? Abyss defeated Samoa Joe on Impact. After the Abyss Rhino hardcore match was scrapped. D'Angelo Gennaro defeated Desmond Wolfe. That surprised me. The fact that the former Elijah Burke beat the former Nigel McGuinness with a small package. Definitely gave a good rub to Gennaro. Anytime you get a win over an established guy, like, not established guy, but a big guy like Desmond Wolfe, who's had so much impact, no pun intended, early on in his TNA career, why not? Go for it. Sting is back in the rafters. Seriously, when I was watching the second hour of Impact start, I really felt like I was watching Nitro. There was an NWO segment, and Sting was in the rafters. It was bizarre. And what was up with the Hulk Hogan having the stubble, the Hollywood stubble, and the NWO music when he came out? What the hell is going on? What is Russo? I don't understand. It's flipping me out. I don't understand it. It's crazy. What else happened on Impact? Ric Flair showed up and entered AJ Styles' room, and then he came out during the main event and was kind of watching the main event. Jeff Jarrett cut this promo and was told by Hogan, "You have no power, brother. You got to get in line like everybody else and earn your spot," and whatever. Mick Foley got beat up by the Outsiders. I mentioned that earlier. Okay. Just very weird night for both shows. Raw wasn't weird, like I said. Raw was very much par for the course. Raw was very much what it was. It just happened to have a very prominent guest host in Bret the Hitman Hart. And now hopefully they will continue with Bret leading into WrestleMania in the program with Vince McMahon. That would be awesome. That's really it, I think. Jeff Hardy, like I said, he's going to be brought up on some serious drug charges. The boy is in some serious shit. And I think that's why he went with TNA, because with all those charges brought against him, excuse the itching of my nose, I know you guys don't like that, but my nose really itches, it's allergy season. It's very unlikely that WWE would have brought him back, considering all that. So he figured, let's go climb the Steel Asylum and make an impact. And speaking of that match, why does a Steel Asylum match end in a no contest or a disqualification? Excuse the itching, guys. I apologize. Why does that match end in disqualification because Homicide used a weapon? I don't understand. Explain that to me. I know it was to let Jeff Hardy make his debut and get the upper hand on Homicide and yada, yada, yada. But let somebody win the match first. That was so bad. The opening match of the biggest Impact in the company's history, and they have the match fall flat, and the entire Impact Zone chanting, "This is bullshit." And they chanted bullshit again at Hogan when he was telling Jared off so much they had to bleep out the shit part of the word, and you couldn't understand what Hogan was saying. That's bad. When your loyal, hardcore fans that go to TNA are chanting "this is bullshit" at you on your biggest night, there's something wrong. And they did it twice. First of all, before I mention this particular death, I got told on the forums because I was talking about the guys that died the last year, and I completely forgot about Mitsuharu Misawa. So I apologize for all the Japanese wrestling fans that respect Misawa and everything. I honestly don't watch Japanese wrestling, so I completely forgot. That is my fault. That is my bad. My most humble apologies to anybody that is a fan of Misawa. I'm sorry, I forgot. And while I'm on that subject, another guy that became very popular in Japan and was more over in Japan than he was here, but still was very popular here, was Dr. Death Steve Williams, and we lost him the last week of the year. And my thoughts and my prayers are out to him and his family and his friends. Just very sad. 49 years old, succumbing to cancer. I heard some guy in the media. I was listening to. Where was I at? Was I at your house when I heard that guy talk? No. I was somewhere. Somebody was watching TV. I forgot who it was. And they said, "Oh, it must be a steroid death. He's dying that young." And I was like, really? Come on. Cancer kills babies. Cancer kills children, okay? Don't be a dick just because he's in the wrestling business, whoever that was. I forget who it was, but it really angered me. It really upset me. So, cancer is cancer, man. Cancer don't screw around with anybody. It just is what it is. Anyway, Dr. Death, 49 years old, Dr. Death Steve Williams. Our thoughts and prayers with his family. The No DQ awards are in. I picked correctly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is lame. I only got 6 right. Superstar of the Year was once again Chris Jericho. I picked the Tag Team of the Year, Jericho and Big Show. I picked Match of the Year, Michaels Undertaker, which was featured on the pay-per-view of the year I picked correctly, WrestleMania. The headline of the year, of course, was Hulk signing with TNA. The babyface of the year was Jeff Hardy, which I picked right. And the feud of the year was him versus CM Punk, which I also picked correctly. Speaking of awards, right now on NoDQ.com, you can vote for your favorites. Awards of the decade. Superstar of the decade, Tag Team of the decade, Finish of the decade, etc., etc., etc. I really had fun on Facebook with this thread because people were all pissed off. Why isn't this guy on here? Why isn't that guy on here? When Aaron made it very clear, crystal flipping clear, that in order to be nominated for a award of the decade, you had to have won the award in any of the previous 9 years, 10 years, 2000 to 2008. That was the criteria. That was the rule. So, sorry, The Rock didn't win an award for Superstar of the Year. Oh, freaking well, dude. It is what it is. So he's not going to win Superstar of the Decade. And quite frankly, he hasn't been the Superstar of the 2000s. He had one super awesome year, 2000. He was gone for a lot of 2001, and he was gone for most of 2002. So, sorry. Oh well. Anyway. In all of 2003 except for briefly, and all of 2004 except briefly. He wasn't the Superstar of the Decade. Triple H maybe. Anyway. NoDQ.com. Check out the Superstar of the Year award, Tag Team of the Year, Finish of the Year, and all those other awards for the decade. And vote right now. We will see you next time. I can't believe this episode 97 I'm doing right now. Episode 98 is next week. We will see you next time on Talk Wrestling.